Hi guys, it's Crimson Butterfly for TogetherweR Wednesdays. The topic for this week is eating disorders and their impact on school or work. For me, when I first developed my eating disorder, I was at university, and from my own personal experience, the two just do not mix well together. Because like with your eating disorder, you are so wrapped up in the eating disorder that you don't really think you are, but you are. You know, your own focus is on, you know, what the scale said that morning, what they said the day before. Have you lost weight? Have you gained weight? You know, and then it's, you know, the calories, what you've eaten, what you're going to eat, you know, what should you eat, what shouldn't you eat, what exercise you've done, you know, it just becomes numbers and you know, you become so wrapped up in those numbers that you forget about anything else. Like, everything else seems to become secondary to that. For me, like, your main focus is weight loss rather than, you know, getting whatever report you need to get done or learning whatever you need to learn. I mean, with university, it is very, like, high pressured and very intense. You have a lot of work to do, usually within a very short time frame, and, you know, lots of information that you have to process and assimilate and then write papers on, or to learn for exams, you know. So it is really, really hard to, like, and not only that, just because with eating disorder, not just because you're so focused on that, it's the effects of having your eating disorder, because you're literally starving yourself, you're starving your brain of nutrients, of energy that it needs, so you become really tired, and, you know, just doing anything becomes hard. Even just get up and going to university just to sit in a lecture becomes a hard thing to do. You don't want to get up out of bed, you know, you don't want to do anything, and then, like, I don't know if anyone else knows, in some cases you become a bit slower, like, processing stuff and listening to, like, I would be sitting there, like, chatting, and my friends would be talking and everything, I'd be chatting with them, and sometimes I just completely, like, zone out and not hear what they say, and then, like, you know, aren't you listening? Like, oh yeah, sorry, you know, it's really bizarre. And I even did that one time on my driving lessons, because I was learning to drive at the time. I was taking lessons, and I just remember I was, like, driving along, and my driving instructor was saying something, and I just completely zoned out, and I didn't hear what he had said, and I'm like, oh, sorry, what did you say? It, you know, and even when I was, like, learning to drive, the same thing, you know. Even when I'm driving in the car, and I should be focusing on, like, you know, what I'm doing, you know, the road ahead. Even though you are kind of focusing on, at the same time, in the back of your mind, it's the whole thing of, you know, calories and weight, and, you know, what food, and just your mind just, you know, and like I said, everything else seems to become secondary, you know. And obviously, like I said, with the effects of having of starving yourself, you do become a bit slower, a bit, things become harder, and it takes you longer to learn and process. And, you know, sometimes I would sit there, like, just staring at, you know, trying to read these, and reading a book, like, reading the information I need to read, reading it several times, and still going, what did that actually say? You know, like, when you read a book and you're really, really tired, you know, you're reading a book in bed, and you just want to get to the end of that chapter or whatever. It's like that. Like, you'll be reading something, and you're like, I just didn't read that. And it wouldn't be that you would, you know, sometimes it'd be like, I just got up in the morning and I'm trying to, like, revise or whatever, and yeah, so it just does not work. Also, while I was at university, I was also working part-time. I'm working full-time now as well, but at the time I was working part-time. And my job is a really active job. I work in a warehouse, and I'm constantly lifting and carrying things and pushing things and moving stuff, and it's not exactly particularly you don't really need to use your brain an awful lot in the job. It's pretty easy work. The stuff that I do, it's not really very, you don't really have to use your brain a lot, so it's not that, it's the physicalness of it. You're working like 8-hour shifts, and you, apart from your break, you're near enough on your feet all day. I mean, if you're not eating properly and nourishing yourself, it becomes really, really tiring, to just keep going. And even now, I'm in recovery, and I'm eating, better. It's like I said, it's a really active job, so it is really difficult, and you can't work either with an eating disorder. It is really hard to be able to maintain a normal level of functioning. And I know, like, you don't think that it's happening. I know a lot of people say when they're restricting their calories, that you hear a lot of people saying that they feel everything becomes clearer and sharper, and they can understand things at university, at school, or study. It's, well, initially you might think that it makes everything clearer and easier to understand. In the long run it won't, because your brain will just not be able to focus on anything, and also not being able to focus on anything for very long. Your attention span becomes so short. It's really bizarre, because you just find yourself drifting. Nothing can hold your attention. Even things that you love and you enjoy reading or watching or doing, you still can't. You can't even hold a conversation half the time. Like I said, I would randomly zone out on things. Not good. And you just can't. It just is not. Your eating disorder won't make won't make your schoolwork any better. It won't make you be able to work better. You can't, because you can't function. Yeah, so that's the topic. So yeah, essentially the impact on eating disorders on school or work is always going to be a negative one. It's never going to be a positive one. Nothing's ever going to get better by restricting your food or having an eating disorder. It always will be a negative impact. So the question of the week is your favourite animal, which I have. When I was little, I always used to love dolphins. That used to be my favourite animal. But I suppose, like, now I would probably say it's probably more like a wolf, or like I would love one of the pets that I would like to have in the future would be like a Siberian Husky, which I think they look like really like almost like wolves and stuff. I don't know why, I just think that they're like beautiful creatures and lovely, and yeah, so that's my favourite animal, wolves. If we're talking mythical characters or mythical animals, you would see my dragons up above me, but I don't think we include that in favourite animals. But if they did exist, that would definitely be my favourite animal. But actual existing animals are definitely wolves. So I think they're like majestic, and I don't know, it's hard to explain. When you just have like you just have an affinity for something, it's not necessarily for a particular reason, you just like that animal. So yes, I hope you enjoy this video, and I shall see you next week for Together We Are Wednesdays.